The great hall of Haven Point Station hummed with the voices of 100 different species. Elder Vorn stood at the central podium, his 4 eyes scanning the assembled council members. His gray skin wrinkled with age, and his voice carried the weight of countless years. "Let me tell you about the lost ones," Vorn began. His words translated into dozens of languages simultaneously. A young hive worker named Click shifted in his seat. His antenna twitched with curiosity. "Elder, why do you speak of myths during a council session?" Vorn's mouth curved into what might have been a smile. "Because some myths are memories, young one, and some memories refuse to die." The hall quieted. Even the most senior council members leaned forward. Vorn's stories were legendary, and when he spoke of the past, wise beings listened. 3,000 years ago, this council had another member. They called themselves humans. They came from a small blue world in a distant spiral arm. We thought them weak at first. Their bodies were fragile. They had no natural armor, no venom, no telepathy. They could not survive in the void without machines. They seemed destined to fail. Click's antenna drooped. "Then why remember them?" "Because they did not fail," Vorn said softly. "They thrived. Where we saw obstacles, they saw challenges. When their ships broke down in deep space, they fixed them with spare parts and determination. When their colonies faced harsh worlds, they adapted. They built domes on airless moons. They carved homes into ice planets. They refused to surrender to the universe." A scale-born commander named Rax hissed from his seat. "If they were so strong, why did they vanish?" Vorn's eyes dimmed. "That is the question, is it not? One day, they simply withdrew. Their colonies went silent. Their ships stopped arriving at trade stations. Their ambassadors left this very hall without explanation. Within a generation, they were gone. We sent expeditions to their worlds and found them abandoned. Empty stations drifted in orbit around their planets. Their home system was sealed behind a wall of defense satellites that destroyed anyone who came close. They destroyed themselves," Rax said with certainty. "War or plague. It always ends that way with aggressive species." "Perhaps," Vorn said, "but I have walked through their abandoned stations. I have read their final messages. And I found something curious on a moon base near their home system." The hall was silent now. Even the translation hum seemed to fade. "The message was carved into metal," Vorn continued. "It said, 'We will return. Wait for us, not a farewell, not a warning, a promise.'" Click's voice was small. "Do you believe they will return, Elder?" Before Vorn could answer, alarms shrieked through the station. Red lights flashed across every surface. The council members jumped to their feet, voices rising in panic. A young officer burst into the hall. "Elder, Commander, unknown ships have entered the system." Rax's scales bristled. "How many?" 47 vessels, sir. They appeared at the jump point 5 minutes ago." "Show us," Vorn commanded. A holographic display flickered to life above the podium. Click gasped. The ships were strange. They looked old, built from mismatched parts welded together. Some had hull sections that clearly came from different vessel types. But they moved with purpose, holding a perfect formation. "They do not match any known design," the officer reported. "Our computers cannot identify their origin." Rax studied the display. "They look like scrap, like someone built warships from garbage." "Or from whatever they had left," Vorn whispered. "Sir, they are broadcasting," the officer said. "The signal is in an old language. Our system is trying to translate." Static filled the hall. Then words came through. They were rough, spoken in a voice that carried confidence despite the crackling transmission. "This is Captain Reed of the Earth vessel Perseverance. We have returned to reclaim our place among the stars. Haven Point, Please respond. The hall erupted. Council members shouted over each other. Click looked at Elder Vorn with wide eyes. The old being sat down slowly, his expression calm. Earth, someone whispered. That was their home world. Impossible, Rax snarled. They have been gone for 3,000 years. But Elder Vorn was smiling. I told you, he said quietly. I told you they would come back. The human fleet held position at the edge of the system, waiting, patient. On the display, their ships looked small compared to the massive council vessels docked at Haven Point. But there was something about their formation, something about the way they sat in space, that made Click's antenna tremble. They looked ready for anything. Vorn stood again, his old legs steady. Someone must answer them. Someone must explain what happened. What did happen? Click asked. Why did they leave? Vorn's eyes darkened. That is a story for another time. But know this, young one. Humans were not just council members. They were our friends. Until someone on this council betrayed them. Until someone drove them away. Silence fell like a weight. The communication channel crackled again. Captain Reed's voice returned, harder now. More demanding. Haven Point, we know you can hear us. We need to talk about what happened 3,000 years ago. We need to talk about why you forced us to leave. And we need to talk about what comes next. Click looked around the hall. Some council members looked confused. Others looked afraid. And a few, Click noticed, looked guilty. Elder Vorn walked to the communication station. His hand hovered over the response button. He looked back at the council, at the species who had lived in peace for millennia without humanity. Everything is about to change, Vorn said. Then he pressed the button. Captain Reed, this is Elder Vorn of the Galactic Council. Welcome home. We have much to discuss. Outside, the human fleet began moving forward. Slowly, carefully, coming home after 3,000 years of exile. Haven Point Station held its breath, waiting to see if humanity returned as friends or as something else entirely. Asterisk, the meeting chamber had been cleared of everyone except the core council members. Elder Vorn stood at the window, watching the human fleet maintain its position. 3 small human shuttles were approaching Haven Point. Requesting permission to dock. Captain Reed's face appeared on the main screen. She was younger than Vorn expected, perhaps 40 in human years. Her dark hair was tied back, and her eyes carried a hardness that came from years of struggle. Behind her, Vorn could see the cramped interior of her ship. Everything looked functional but worn. Permission to come aboard? Reed asked. Her tone was polite but not friendly. Rax stepped forward before Vorn could respond. How do we know this is not a trick? How do we know you are truly human? Reed's expression did not change. You have our genetic records in your archives. Test us if you want. But we are not asking for permission, Commander. We are informing you of our arrival. The question is whether we dock peacefully or whether we remind you why our ancestors earned their seat on this council. Click watched from the corner where younger members were allowed to observe. He had never heard anyone speak to Commander Rex that way. The Scaleborn was known for his temper, but now he simply stepped back, his scales flat against his body. Let them dock, Vorn said quietly. We owe them that much. 2 hours later, Captain Reed walked into the council chamber. She was not alone. With her came 2 other humans. A man named Tom, who carried himself like a soldier despite wearing civilian clothes, and a woman named Lisa, whose eyes constantly scanned the room, looking for threats. They were all thin, not starving, but lean in a way that spoke of rationing and hard times. Their uniforms were clean, but patched in multiple places. Reed's boots had been repaired so many times that barely any original material remained. 3,000 years, Reed said, standing in the center of the chamber. 3,000 years we waited for an apology, for an explanation. We got neither. So we stopped waiting and started building. Vorn gestured to the seats reserved for human delegates. They had remained empty for millennia. Please sit. Tell us what happened from your perspective. Reed remained standing. You know what happened, Elder. Your records will show it. The year was 847 by the old calendar. Humanity had 12 colonies and 3 major trade stations. We were preparing to expand further into the spiral arm. Then the scale-borne delegation accused us of weapons smuggling. Rax's eyes narrowed. Because you were. Our evidence was clear. Your evidence was fabricated, Ton said, his voice hard. We proved it was false. We showed the Council our records, our ship manifests, everything. But it did not matter. The vote went against us anyway. Lisa spoke for the first time. Sanctions came first, then blockades, then attacks on our merchant vessels, all approved by this council, all legal under council law. Click's antenna trembled. He looked at Elder Vorn. Is this true? Vorn's silence was answer enough. Asterisk. Reed continued. We tried to fight legally. We appealed. We negotiated. We begged. But the council had decided. Either we surrendered our sovereignty and became a protectorate of the Scaleborn, or we left council space entirely. So we left, Ton said simply. We took our people, our ships, everything we could carry. We went home to Earth and sealed our system. And we survived. Survived, Reed repeated, her voice bitter. Do you know what that meant? Our 12 colonies abandoned. Thousands of people relocated to an already crowded home system. Technology we could not maintain because we lost access to council trade. Ships that broke down with no way to get parts. She walked to the window, looking out at her fleet. The first 500 years were the worst. We nearly destroyed ourselves fighting over resources. But we learned. We adapted. We built what we needed from what we had. Every ship in that fleet was constructed in secret orbital yards. Every piece of technology was reverse engineered or invented from scratch. It took us 3,000 years to get back to where we were when you forced us out. The chamber was silent. Click felt sick. He had been taught that the council was just, that it represented all species fairly. But this story painted a different picture. Why come back? Rax asked. His voice was quieter now, less aggressive. Why not simply stay away? Reed turned from the window. Because we learned something during our isolation. We learned that the council needs us more than we need the council. Vorn tilted his head. Explain. Lisa pulled out a data pad. While we were gone, we monitored council space. We watched. We listened. And we noticed patterns. In the past 3,000 years, you have faced 17 major conflicts. Border wars, trade disputes, 3 near genocides. Each time, the council barely held together. We managed, Rax said defensively. Barely, Ton countered. You know what humans were good at? Making peace. We understood conflict because we lived with it. We knew how to find compromise because we had to compromise to survive on our own world. The council has grown soft without us. You have forgotten how to handle real threats. Reed stepped closer to the council seats. And now a real threat is coming. Our long-range scouts detected it 5 years ago. Something is moving through the outer rim. Something that destroys colonies and leaves nothing behind. We estimate it will reach council space in less than 10 years. The chamber erupted. Council members shouted questions. Rax demanded proof. Click simply stared at the humans, trying to process everything. Elder Vorn raised his hand for silence. You have evidence of this threat? Lisa activated her data pad. Holographic images filled the chamber. Dead worlds, destroyed stations, entire systems gone silent. The destruction was total and methodical. "We call it the swarm," Reed said, "because that is what it looks like. Thousands of ships moving as one, consuming resources and moving on. We have been tracking it for years, and it is heading this way." Vorn studied the images carefully. "Why tell us? Why not simply let us face this threat alone? After what we did to you, we would deserve it." Reed met his eyes. "Because we are better than that. Because humans do not abandon people in danger, even people who wronged us. And because we need each other to survive what is coming." She looked around the chamber at each council member. "We are not asking to rejoin the council. We are offering an alliance. We help you prepare for the swarm. We share our technology, our tactics, our experience. In return, you clear our name. You acknowledge what was done to us was wrong. And you give us the resources we need to make our fleet battle-ready." "And if we refuse?" Rax asked. Tom's smile was cold. "Then we seal our system again and let you face the swarm alone. But we both know how that will end." Click found his voice. "Elder Vorm, what should we do?" The old being looked at the images of destruction, then at the humans standing before the council. He thought of 3,000 years of injustice. He thought of the threat coming toward them all. And he thought of the message carved in metal on an abandoned moon base. "We will return. Wait for us." They had returned, not for revenge, not for glory, but to save the species that had betrayed them. That, Vorn thought, was what made humans special. "We vote tomorrow," Vorn announced. "Tonight, the humans are our guests. We will hear their full proposal and review their evidence. And we will decide if we are wise enough to accept the help we do not deserve." Reed nodded. "Tomorrow, then." As the humans left the chamber, Click approached Elder Vorn. "Do you trust them?" Vorn watched through the window as the human shuttles returned to their fleet. "I trust that they are exactly what I remembered. Stubborn, proud, and too noble for their own good. Yes, young one, I trust them. The question is whether the rest of the council is wise enough to do the same." Outside, the human fleet waited. And somewhere beyond the edge of known space, the swarm continued its march toward council territory. The clock was ticking. Asterisk. The vote was scheduled for dawn by Haven Point station time. Click had not slept. He spent the night reviewing old records, reading about the humans and what they had accomplished before their exile. The more he read, the more ashamed he felt dot in the archives. He found videos of human engineers helping build the very station they now stood on. He found records of human mediators stopping wars before they started. He found testimony from species that humans had saved from extinction through aid and technology sharing got, and he found the vote that had exiled them. It had been close. Nearly half the council had voted against the sanctions. But the majority had ruled, and humanity had been cast out. The chamber filled slowly as council members arrived. The humans entered last. Captain Reed looked tired but determined. Tom and Lisa flanked her, their expressions unreadable. Elder Vorn called the session to order. "We have reviewed the human evidence. We have confirmed the threat of the swarm is real. Today we vote on the human proposal. Before we begin, does anyone wish to speak?" Commander Rax stood. The Scaleborn looked older today, his scales dull. "I wish to speak." The chamber fell silent. Rax had been the loudest voice against the humans the day before. 3,000 years ago, my grandfather sat on this council, Rax began. He was the one who brought the charges against humanity. He presented the evidence of weapons smuggling. Evidence that I now know was false. Gasps echoed through the chamber. Rax continued, his voice heavy. "Last night, I accessed sealed scale-borne archives, records that only military commanders can see. And I found the truth. My grandfather fabricated the evidence because he feared human influence was growing too strong. He convinced others that humans were a threat to Council stability. He lied, and the Council believed him. Reed's expression did not change, but Click saw her hands tighten on the armrests of her chair. I cannot undo what was done, Rax said, but I can acknowledge it. The Scale-born wronged humanity. The Council wronged humanity. We allowed fear and politics to destroy innocent lives. If we make the same mistake again, if we refuse their help now, we will deserve what the swarm does to us. Rax turned to face the humans directly. Captain Reed, on behalf of my people and my ancestors, I apologize. It means nothing. It changes nothing. But it is truth. Reed stood slowly. She walked across the chamber to where Rax stood. For a long moment, they simply looked at each other. Then Reed extended her hand in the ancient human gesture of peace. It means something, she said quietly. Truth always means something. Rax gripped her hand. His scales rippled with emotion. When they released, something had shifted in the chamber. The tension that had filled the air since the humans arrived had eased slightly. Other council members began to speak. Some shared their own guilt about the old vote. Others talked about what they had learned from humans in the past. A few argued that the alliance was still too risky, that humanity might seek revenge. Click stood. As a junior member, he had no vote, but he had the right to speak. May I say something? Vorn nodded. Speak, young one. I am not old enough to remember the humans, Click began. His antenna trembled with nervousness. But I read the histories last night. I learned what they contributed to this council, and I learned what we took from them. Now they return, not with weapons seeking revenge, but with a warning about a threat that endangers us all. If we refuse their help, if we let pride or fear control us again, we prove we learned nothing from our mistake. We prove we deserve to fail. He looked at Captain Reed. They spent 3,000 years rebuilding what we destroyed. They could have used that time to plan revenge. Instead, they used it to prepare for this moment, to save us. I have no vote, but if I did, I would vote to accept their alliance. Because if we cannot trust people who return to save us despite what we did to them, then we cannot trust anyone. Silence followed his words. Then Elder Vorn spoke. Wise words from young minds give me hope. Let us vote. All in favor of accepting the Human Alliance proposal, indicate now. Lights illuminated across the chamber. Click counted quickly. It was not close this time. Nearly every council member voted in favor. Only 3 abstained. None voted against. The measure passes, Vorn announced. Humanity, your alliance is accepted. Your names are cleared, and resources will be allocated to strengthen our combined defense. Reed nodded. She did not smile or celebrate. She simply accepted the result. Then we have work to do. The swarm will not wait for us to prepare. Lisa looked up from her work. Because giving up is not in our nature. When we were exiled, everyone thought we would die. Many of us did die. But the rest of us refused to quit. We told ourselves that if we survived just one more day, that was a victory. And when you stack enough small victories together, eventually you win the war. But you were alone for so long, Click said. How did you not become bitter? Oh, we were bitter, Lisa admitted. For the first few centuries, we were very bitter. But eventually, we realized that bitterness was just another way of giving up. If we let what happened to us define who we became, then the Council won. They took our colonies, our place in the galaxy, our future. We refused to let them take who we were as people. So we stayed true to our values. We helped each other. We built instead of destroyed. And we kept the promise we made on that moon base. We returned. Click's antenna trembled with understanding. That was the real strength of humans. Not their technology or their tactics. Their refusal to let circumstances change their core nature. The swarm arrived exactly when the humans predicted. The first attacks hit outer colonies with devastating force. But this time, the Council was ready. Human-designed defense grids held against the initial assault. Combined fleets using human tactics managed to destroy several swarm ships and analyze their technology. The war lasted 3 years. It was brutal and costly. Entire worlds were evacuated. Thousands of ships were destroyed. But slowly, the Council forces learned. They adapted. They pushed back. Captain Red commanded the joint fleet from her rebuilt flagship, now upgraded with Council technology. Tom led ground forces on contested worlds. Lisa coordinated intelligence and tactical analysis. And alongside them, Council species fought with determination they had not shown in centuries. Elder Vorn watched from Haven Point as the final battle approached. The swarm's central hive ship had been located. One massive strike would either destroy it or doom the Council to years more of war. Are we ready? Vorn asked Reed over the communication link. Reed's face appeared on screen. Behind her, Vorn could see representatives from every Council species. Humans, Scaleborn, Hive, Veilkin, all working together on the command deck. We are ready, Reed confirmed. All ships report prepared? The attack begins in 10 minutes. Captain, Vorn said, thank you for coming back, for helping us. Reed smiled, and for the first time since returning, it was a genuine smile without hardness or pain. That is what friends do, Elder. They come back when they are needed. The final battle was fierce but decisive. The combined fleet, using tactics that blended human innovation with Council technology, destroyed the hive ship. The remaining swarm vessels fled beyond known space, scattered and broken. When the fleet returned to Haven Point, the entire station was waiting. Hundreds of thousands gathered to watch the ships dock. This time, when Captain Reed walked into the Council chamber, she was not alone. Thousands of humans followed her, along with representatives from every species in the Council. Elder Vorn stood at the podium. His voice carried through the station. 3,000 years ago, this Council made a terrible mistake. We allowed fear to overcome wisdom. We punished the innocent and lost valuable friends. Today, we correct that mistake. Today, humanity returns not as guests or allies, but as full members of this Council, with all rights, responsibilities, and honors that entails. The chamber erupted in cheers. Click's antenna waved with joy. Even Commander Rax, standing beside Reed, showed what passed for a smile among his species. Reed stepped forward. She looked around at the species who had once exiled her ancestors. We accept, not because we forget what happened, but because we choose to build a better future rather than dwell on a painful past. That is what humans do. We endure, we forgive, and we always keep our promises. She gestured to the empty seats that had waited 3 millennia for occupants. We told you we would return. Now let us build something worth the wait. As humans took their seats in the Council chamber, Click approached Elder Vorn. You always believed they would come back. How did you know? Vorn's old eyes gleamed. Because I knew humans, young one. They are stubborn. They are proud. But most importantly, they keep their word. When they carved that promise in metal, they meant it. All we had to do was wait and trust. And now? Click asked. Now we build, Vorn said simply. Together. As we should have done 3,000 years ago. Outside the chamber, Human and council ships floated side by side. New ships were already being designed, combining the best of both technologies. New colonies were being planned. New friendships were forming. The lost race had returned. Not with vengeance, not with demands, but with open hands and willing hearts. And the galaxy was better for it. Captain Reed stood at the window that night, looking out at Earth's pale blue dot, visible in the distance. Beside her, Elder Vorn joined in silence. "Your people earned their place here long ago," Vorn said. "I am glad you came home." Reed nodded. "So are we. It took us 3,000 years. But we finally made it back. What will you do now?" Vorn asked. Reed smiled. "What humans always do. We will explore. We will build. We will help those who need it. And we will make sure that no one else gets exiled for speaking truth. That is our promise, Elder. Not just to return, but to make the Council better than it was." "Then humanity truly has returned," Vorn said softly. "Welcome home, Captain. Welcome home." And in the vastness of space, the human fleet and the Council fleet sat together, guarding the peace they had fought so hard to achieve. The lost race was lost no more. They had returned to the stars, and the stars were brighter for it. The End Asterisk.